Why do I have to be the worst shot ever? Could you kindly stop moving? Is that really too much to ask for? Oh, finally. There we go. And of course, out of ammo. That would just be my luck, wouldn't it? Hiya, friends. It's Shenanigoon, your terrible shot of a rat gamer friend, and today I'm headed into Assassin's Creed Origins in the fun land of ancient Egypt to test my archery skills. Can I beat Assassin's Creed Origins with only the bow? With my skill, probably not. But with Bayek being a walking armory, just maybe I'll get lucky in the end. The rules are pretty obvious. Me use bow only, me try not to die, beat story, and hopefully don't have to use all of Egypt's arrows along the way. With a spoiler warning and nightmare difficulty selected, let's go be, well, maybe not the best archer ever seen, but certainly and archer. We start our story in a pretty happy setting. Bayek looks happy, the world is a bright place, and I do mean that both figuratively and literally. Things are good. Then the 1 year later card hits, and suddenly the opposite is true. Everything is so dark. Well, it looks like Bayek has already tracked down the first assassination target and taken care of it in a cutscene. That's pretty handy. Don't think that was a bow, though. And neither's getting stuck fighting the guy's bodyguard. I hate tutorials. They are the bane of all challenge runs as the game forces me to fight this guy with no bow to my name. And for a tutorial fight, he does like to take his time to go down. But at least with that guy, we're in the clear, right? Nope, immediately faced with 4 more soldiers fighting my friend. But worry not, I can easily do what I do best and be a bad friend, letting him very slowly handle them on his own. It will help build character, right? One would hope, but I'm too dead to find out. At least I'm much better about dodging the second time, and for my troubles, I get the grand reward of my very own camel. And almost as good, a little sleepy time as well. And to top it off, my very own bow. And a random aggressive group of soldiers to test it on. Though, of course, the first is yet another tutorial for knocking out. But at least I can use my bow on the rest of the investigating guards. It's very handy that they're all just standing around, doing absolutely nothing. Didn't they come here for a reason? I guess not. With them dealt with, I can now seek out the assassination target here in Bayek's hometown. Or I can completely ignore that and go explore random tombs, get into fights with some hyenas, and almost deal with his military camp without any trouble. Almost being the key word when I end up bringing plenty of reinforcements down upon me. At least the camp leader isn't too difficult, but now they're cheating and using camels too. And shields! Come on, guys, I only have so many arrows. Couldn't you just stand there and make my life easier? But ending your lives? Selfish you guys are. This quickly highlighted a key trouble I would continuously face throughout my journey. I'm a bad shot, sure, we all know that, which makes this hard enough. But I also don't have infinite arrows, so I'm forced to do a lot of fleeing while I desperately seek out more arrows to waste by missing more. It's a vicious cycle. At least now I have 2 different bows, so I can miss at double the rate. I had almost beaten these guards before I was waylaid unexpectedly by my assassination target. I wasn't even here for the guy. He just popped up out of nowhere. Was I the target all along, and he the assassin? Trippy. Coming back, I do manage to take him down in a large fight, but this causes me to experience a flashback. These are quite wholesome for 2 seconds with my son, before I'm pit against a guard with a skull icon and several of his thugs. Excellent. This isn't gonna end well, and it doesn't. But at least I'm meant to lose this fight, as these guys kidnap me and my son to open some vault door underneath the town. But let's just say things go quite poorly for us, and now Bayek is seeking vengeance on all the masked men there that night. Turns out, though, masks are really good at concealing identities. Who knew? Before leaving town, I take the time to explore the nearby cliffs, and let's just say that Bayek shouldn't always do what I tell him to do. First time, shame on me. But second time, we gotta blame him a little for going along with it, right? I really have to stop expecting haystacks to always be at the bottom. Leaving town, I suddenly find myself gasping awake as Layla, some lady in a cave exploring Bayek's memories, I guess. I'm just gonna go immediately back into the Animus and pretend I never saw her. Are we all agreed? Waking up in the proper headspace of Bayek, I go right to doing what any hardcore assassin on a quest for vengeance would do. I play hide and seek with some kids, and ensure they're all safe playing it. It's moments like this that go to show why Bayek is the best Assassin's Creed character for sure. I wander around doing random tasks for the heck of it when I come across a military base with one of these bad boys. Hey, this is a bow only challenge, and last I checked, that's just one really big bow. Now, if only I could figure out a way to carry it with me on my journey, things would be so much easier. At least I've acquired my favorite bow type by now. the Predator Bow, aka my sniper. There are 4 bow types in this game. The semi-automatic bow, for when I'm fine missing a bunch but need to shoot as much as possible. The rifle bow, which is great for every situation and serves as my main go-to bow. The Predator bow, which is basically my sniper and is excellent at instant kills. And finally, my shotgun bow, for those moments when you need to say, who needs aiming? I can just fire every arrow I have at the same time. They're all pretty essential and make Bayek into the beautiful, terrifying walking armory that he is. Finally reaching Alexandria, Bayek meets up with Aya, his wife and fellow seeker of vengeance. And hey, good news! Bayek killed 2 of their targets, and it turns out Aya has also killed 2. So look at that, we're almost done with all the targets already. Instead of seeking out my final target or hunting down the guard captain keeping Aya in hiding, I think I'd rather do some fun side work, like trying to clear this fort in order to free this random dude, and of course, die along the way. How was I to know an arrow right to this guy's face wouldn't kill him? I hear that kind of thing normally works. Trying again, I do manage to free the guy after plenty of fighting and get right to transporting food. Hopefully, feeding the people will make them less mad about the fact that I kept trying to run them all over, but frankly, it's not like they were hurt, since they all seem to be immovable forces, including the children. Terrifying. I also said about trying to free another prisoner from a moving patrol. The first attempt goes less than stellar, because all these jerks refuse to stay still and have bows of their own, which is totally unfair. If I'm a terrible shot, we should all be terrible shots. Keep it even. At least the second attempt goes much better when I choose not to fight, but instead merely run after the cage, open it up, and climb in to grab the prisoner and get out without anyone noticing. They're not paid for their intelligence, I'm guessing. But who needs smarts when there's so many of them? Every time I shoot one, another pops up like a bad case of acne, and I really have to ask, at what point do you guys think it's a good idea not to attack the dude surrounded by the bodies of your allies who all share your same skill level? Unfortunately, no good thing seems to last forever, and when I finally go after the last of the assassination targets, I'm stripped of basically everything except my hidden blade and a towel. Well, I'd love to makeshift a bow using the knife and towel together. The game won't let me, and I have to perform the assassination with the blade, which cost Bayek his finger, which never would have happened with the bow. I'm just saying. At least with that guy dead, the game's over, right? Now I can just wander the desert doing a bunch of side tasks again, right? Of course not. I mean, I can still do the wandering thing, sure. But it turns out there's many more to be assassinated in this Order of Ancients, as they're called. I learned all this through Cleopatra, the famous lady from the history books. She wants the throne, and we want vengeance for our son, so it's teamwork time. This mission will take years, but not because the story takes too long. No, but because Bayek loves to stop every 2 seconds to do some random side task. To be fair to my very easily distracted self, this game has a leveling system, so doing all of this is the only way to stay up to level and be able to succeed. Plus, it gives me a pretty good excuse to check off every base I can find along the way, and my completionist nature appreciates that. My only true fear is the Falakes, the bounty hunters with tremendously high damage and health that love to hunt me down wherever I may be. I don't have very good luck with these guys, so that's why I prefer to just grab what I can, whether that be, let's say, treasure or a whole person, and run away as fast as possible whenever one is near. Only problem is these guys don't stop coming. Mainly because I always fail to stop the alarm from being raised, but still. And when I do manage to get an entire giant base angry at me, I have to hope that Falake doesn't wander too near, because this random mountain of a man here is already busy making my life hard enough. I mean, really, the man has a small army's worth of arrows in him. He's practically a porcupine, but he just keeps coming. At least as with most of these guards, he's an idiot and can't seem to understand basic physics, or the concept of going around as opposed to through an obstacle. With all that done, I'm powerful enough to hunt down the scarab and immediately find myself buried up to my neck in the hot desert sand for my troubles. Maybe not Bayek's best work. Honestly, I don't even try to escape for a bit simply because you know how often I get to just stay still and rest? This is a real treat myself moment. Which probably says something about how well I take care of myself in general, but we're not going to get into that. Just enjoy a little sunbathing before finally calling for my horse to help me escape and finish off the scarab. With his death, I find myself now playing as Aya on the high seas. This worries me for a moment, but thankfully, the challenge is safe. Why use one bow when you can use dozens all at once? It may not be the fastest way to defeat my enemies, but it certainly works for all sea encounters. The next challenge, the woman calling herself the hyena, is way harder. She's generally one of the hardest sections of the game for me. First, there's a massive sandstorm that apparently she can see through, but I can't. Then she also is doing a bow only challenge, combined with the use of literal hyenas hunting me at all times. And worst of all, she's actually good at using a bow, unlike me. Tragic. No matter how close I get to beating her, down I go to her superior aim, damage, and health. Finally, I realize why chase her down when I can find her through her own shots and fire with my most powerful bow when the marker lights up red. This works for half her health before she brings herself closer, and my shotgun bow takes another large chunk out, so I can finally finish her off with a few desperate shots. That was way tougher than I thought it would be. Turns out the biggest threats in this run to me are other archers who actually know how to shoot. If only they teach me how. Most enemies love to just run into my arrows. It's very helpful. Making my way to Memphis, I sit on a god for a while, but at least it makes me a believer. He really is a spirit and has no physical form. Wow. And if my mind wasn't blown already by that, the next few minutes get extra crazy. A pregnant woman and I both drink some crazy concoction, but while someone politely keeps her from falling, Bayek takes a hard visit to the ground. And then begins a very fun encounter where I have a bow of pure light that I use to shoot a giant poison spitting snake god. I feel given my track record, I'm certainly not ready for this, but there's no turning back. A few deaths later, and a change of controller batteries along with them, I managed to defeat Old Snakey, but just barely. I should have died for sure. And even worse, what happened to my hair? I'm fairly certain when I went into the stream, I had hair and a beard. I guess on the plus side, by because he is sun spirit again. Thankfully, I wake a moment later. Sure, no more sun, but my hair's back, so it works out. And I is here to help me track down the target in the city. Our target has been poisoning our bull god friend and needs to be stopped. But before that, I realized that if Hilake is nearby, I can never beat him normally at this point. But who needs to when you have a wonderful, fierce wife that can handle your mess for you? Aya really is the best, and far more powerful than me. Perhaps she should be coming with. Sadly, she doesn't, and she doesn't even come with when I track down the target. To be fair, I'm looking for a man in a blue cloak who coughs a lot, and that's literally the first guy I run into, so it was short at least. He didn't have much survival instincts anyways, as seen when I point my bow at him for quite a while, and he does nothing, so I think this is fair. Bayek says farewell to Aya yet again, and when I make my way to the next story mission, I'm a bit underleveled. So I head off to help deal with the Greek-Egyptian conflict and help some rebels get some healing. I mean, I handled all this by shooting people with my bow, but it really seems to be a cure-all. I do have a lot of trouble with the escort mission, but thankfully those I'm escorting can die repeatedly and yet get up no trouble when I'm through fighting, no matter how long it takes. How handy. Now properly leveled, I've learned a truly powerful move that makes this challenge run so much more doable. I have the power of telekinesis. Wasn't expecting that, were you? Sure, it only works on predator bow shots, but still, that's definitely telekinesis. Amazing that Bayek has that and no one blinks an eye. This leads to many more instant kills in shots that I normally never make actually working out. Maybe next I'll go apply to join the X-Men or the Avengers. Unfortunately, things take a very dark turn when I reach my next big story mission. The game has already killed one child in this story, and apparently it's ready to take another despite all my attempts to stop it. Children are supposed to be immortal in games. Did someone forget to give these guys that memo? At least I still have the power to help stop animal cruelty with whoever's poisoning the crocodile god. Well, I can, but first I get unexpectedly ambushed by a Filake from nowhere. So much pain. I'm at least able to solve the poisoning issue, and then I get to join the gladiator arena with Bayek's old friend in order to find out where the order member who killed the child is. It's here where the game really hates me, as it forces me into the arena with just a sword and shield. Thankfully, I have my ally to help me. Oh, no, wait, she's gone down. With nothing else working and my ally selfishly taking a nap, I'm forced here to use my sword to put an end to multiple waves of guards. At least it's easy, but it's truly hard on the soul. More fights await me, but actually, these surprisingly don't cause a break in the challenge. The traps are active in these matches, and as we've well established, Bayek's foes aren't the sharpest blades in Egypt. Really, guys? Really? You'd think at some point you'd realize a giant spiky pole is no for touching. But nope, it's like you're magnetically attached to it. I guess that works for me as I'm not at fault for killing you and therefore not breaking the challenge. Sadly, reaching the boss fight against two crazy brothers is where I'm once again forced to use my blade. I wish my ally would do it, but she always falls quickly, and unfortunately, despite almost winning the first time after a very cautious attempt, I join her. I haven't used this blade all run, guys. Give me a break, and maybe don't smash my head in. They aren't for listening, but it doesn't take too long to finally get the hang of the fight and defeat them. Easier than expected, but harder than I wished. After dying once more to that same murderous Filake from before, I finally tracked down the Order member and after a couple poor shots, managed to take her down. Since this entire section has been cruel to my challenge, the game continues that trend, ripping me from Bayek and making me kill a couple people with my hidden blade in the modern day. Just tragic. With that random interruption done, I jump back to the past and go help stir up a revolution. It's going so well too before a Filake with a skull icon appears to shoot me out of nowhere. Really hate those guys. I then have to deal with another giant guy who takes all my arrows. Even though I've improved my bow so much, I have to wonder just how little damage I would have done had I not. Good thing I had rebels to throw at him so they could die in my place. Truly heroic of me to let them do that. With that revolution underway, I decided to double down on the story and avoid any more distractions. Okay, well, maybe one quick visit past a bunch of crocodiles so I could sneak inside a pyramid, but other than that, staying focused. Well, maybe also dealing with a bunch of poachers murdering crocodiles to transport stolen goods, but that feels worth my time. But now I'm focused. Okay, maybe I choose to take down the corrupt leader that was causing all these croc-related problems also, but hey, I just need to tie up that loose end. Now I'm focused. I mean it this time. I join Aya in preventing an assassination attempt on Cleopatra, but despite having both Aya and Apollodorus, two skilled fighters with me, neither chooses to help me take on the boss fight trying to kill Cleo. What's the point of hiding behind your wife if she's not going to fight my battles for me? At least she's a comforting presence, you know? I get stuck here because I run out of arrows with every bow, and the boss still has a quarter of health left. Now would be a really great time for backup. Nobody's coming, so when I try and flee for some arrows, I'm suddenly desynchronized, because I guess Cleo's killed, and this restarts the boss fight. But it doesn't refill my arrows. What's a guy to do? I try repeatedly to escape the fight, but the game isn't having it, so I'm finally engaged with my fist. And thankfully, he kills me. Yay! This is a good thing, since it turns out death by him actually does refill my arrows back up. I let him kill me again, hoping for all my arrows, but I guess that's just asking for too much. Still, using these arrows and finally managing to get some guards to come help me by dying, I'm actually able to take Mr. Assassin down with my bow. That was a close one. There can only be one assassin around here, pal, and that's my wife. But she didn't feel like it, so I guess I'll fill in. Back to sea we go, and while it's a very long, extremely slow fight since I refuse to use the catapults, I'm able to take down the attacking navy with only the crew's bows. I get Cleopatra to Julius Caesar, and he becomes our ally. Maybe he'll give us free pizza for our help. Before we can find out, everything goes to hell as Cleo's angry pharaoh brother attacks and battle breaks out. While I manage to die pretty quickly by accidentally diving into a burning sea, the rest of the fighting goes pretty smoothly. At least for Aya's side of things. Bayek is stuck being chased by a giant war elephant, and while I can do most of it with a bow, the game forces me to use a spear, and when I refuse, I'm trampled to death. And yet if I do follow along with it, Bayek realizes it's not working, and only cutscene him manages to pull off the shot. That seemed extra cruel of the game. But isn't a spear like one giant arrow? So from that point of view, yeah, no, okay. Worry not. The next two bosses back to back are quite simple to win with my bow. It breaks my heart to have to kill an elephant, but I'm able to use that heartbreak to easily defeat Septimius, the man who supposedly killed Bayek's son. The guy likes a lot of slow approaches, but that just makes him an incredibly easy target to shoot. Not that I'm complaining. I respect the menacing, but highly stupid way of fighting. With his death, oh wait, what? He's not dead? But Caesar saves him, and I'm starting to think we're not going to get that pizza after all. Caesar and Cleopatra have chosen to betray us for the Order of Ancients. Because, you know, they suck. But at least it encourages Bayek and Aya to officially form an order to stand against them.
Our values, our creed will unify.
He said the line! Assassin's Creed has officially originated. Time to get right to fulfilling the assassinating part of it. Turns out Flavius, Caesar's right-hand man, is the true leader of the order and the true killer of their son. Flavius has an orb that mind controls people, so I hunt him across the land before finally catching up to him. I don't remember his fight being hard, but that's probably because I wasn't dumb enough to use only the bow. Flavius can easily use the orb to stun me, plus he loves to teleport often and make illusions attack me. Thankfully, there's plenty of arrow refills in the room, and when he teleports, it's always predictably behind me. This doesn't change that it's quite easy to die to him, and when you do enough damage, he starts teleporting nearly non-stop. And I'm not nearly good enough of an archer for that, but I do have a wonderful trick up my quiver. Who needs skill when I'm carrying around a fast-firing bow that shoots poison arrows? When Flavius is stuck in place, having a fit over the poison, I unleash fire arrow after fire arrow right into his head. Finally, vengeance is mine. Wait, it's not over yet. Oh yeah, Septimius still lives thanks to Caesar getting in the way, which means I now have to fight him as well. Alright, fine, let's do this thing. Aya doesn't come with my upgrades or normal weapons, and she has far less arrows, which means I can't finish off Septimius using only my bow. There's no way to handle him, in fact, except to fight him outright, and I've not been preparing for this. This last evil fight cost me numerous deaths and another toll on my challenge. But finally, thanks to my powered up attacks, I'm able to bring him down, making sure to save one last arrow to finish him off with, just because I can. And of course, right after his death, there's a ton of arrows made available to me. Using them, I clear the path to Julius Caesar, who I'm forced to kill with the hidden blade. But I'm thinking all these other guys did far more than me anyways, I'm just saying. But finally, with that, huzzah! I've beaten most of Assassin's Creed Origins, but sadly not all of it with only the bow. You can take down an army's worth of men and solve so many problems with the bow, but there are 17 exceptions that exist that make sure you can't beat the whole story with only the bow. Regardless, it was a fun challenge that took place over 27 hours and 58 minutes with a total of 84 deaths. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I want to thank you for sticking with me throughout it all. I may be an awful shot, but hopefully you're better than me and don't miss that like button or the keys it takes to comment below so you can share your thoughts. I wish you an amazing day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I hope you always hit what you're aiming for. See you later, friends.